It's episode 20 of the Improv London podcast with this week's guest, Liz Peters.
This ain't gonna be easy.
Somebody's moving around.
Welcome to episode 20. I had a great time talking to Liz and attending her. She ran the drop-in at the nursery and on Saturdays it starts at 1 o'clock, which I recommend, and we talk a little bit about that and how she teaches that, taking in the needs of beginners and also of more experienced players. We also talk a lot about embodiment, and we strike some powerful poses, and Liz talks about what she brings to the Maydays and her love of Cannibal the Musical. Oh, and I ask Liz, I don't really want to ruin the surprise for you, actually. Anyway, this made me laugh lots, and now I'm laughing again, just thinking about the things that she said that made me laugh before. Anyway, do enjoy. So, started recording, but I'm not going to use this bit. Just like to.
This is the warm-up.
This is the warm-up, yeah, because I want you to get used to the fact that we're having a conversation. But you might say something amazing now, and I'm like, oh, could you just say that again? So when we're recording it, that's happened before previously. So.
Well, the amazing thing is, I sliced my finger open on the door. Ouch!
Ow.
That was real blood.
Of the nursery.
Of the rusty old
the
nursery
rusty old nursery door.
Dusty, rusty wound.
The sacrifices that you make for the improv gods.
That's true.
Blood sacrifice. That's more than anyone else. Let's just say that has made when they've been on this podcast so far. So.
I'll just land for a minute.
Land for a minute. Yes. Land.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Been busy today.
Yeah, it's been busy. Yeah, get up early to come from Brighton. You
Right.
see. So
That's because on account you live in the dream, living in Brighton.
that is the dream. Yeah.
So
London by sea.
Yes.
And you don't have to get the tube anywhere.
No. Whenever I go to Brighton, I think, why don't I live in Brighton? How come I haven't ended up living in Brighton? There's even an improv scene there. There's even stuff I could do there.
Before I moved there, I was absolutely convinced it was always sunny in Brighton. Because every time I went down for any reason, I was like, oh my god, it's so hot here. Everyone just lives on the beach all the time. I can testify that actually it's not always sunny in Brighton.
Yes, no, there's a difference between visiting a place on holiday and then actually living there. I lived on Jersey for a couple of years. That was nice.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
So Jersey cows are the brown ones,
That's
right?
right, yes.
And do they make different milk?
Yeah, it's much better.
Is it?
Much better, especially than Guernsey cows.
There's a rivalry between Jersey and Guernsey, isn't there?
Yeah. Bonkers.
I would like to imagine they have some kind of football chant each. Like, Jersey, brown cow.
Yeah, the Guernsey, they're not even, I don't know. I'm not going to carry on this feud because it's a long time since I lived there, and I'm not a native of either Jersey or Guernsey.
Well, I had a holiday romance in Guernsey.
You had a holiday romance in Guernsey?
When I was in my very early teens.
Oh yeah, tell me about your holiday romance in Guernsey.
There's not much to tell because I was in my very early teens, so it was really just a little kiss. But he was a waiter in a hotel. And I think he first told me he was 18, then the next day he was 17, then he was 16, 15, 14. I mean, I was about 13 or 14, so probably best
yes.
that his age kept decreasing. He decided that he was in love with me, which was wonderful, because that's a nice feeling.
Oh, yes.
And then he phoned me after I got home to tell me that he tried to chase me to the airport and crashed his motorbike and broken his leg. Yeah.
Is that romantic or is that worrying?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit weird. And he would phone me at like midnight or something, and I was like 13 or 14.
There isn't a time difference in Jersey.
No.
Guernsey. It's not like
because he was a waiter. I think he would phone me after.
After his shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like he got confused about the timings of when it was midnight in the UK because it's the same in the Channel Islands. We're on the same meridian.
Yeah. Of course, I was quite young, so my mum was answering the phone and being like, "Tell Chico to stop phoning," because he was Portuguese. He was a Portuguese waiter in Guernsey.
Right. Yes.
With an ever decreasing age, and he gave me his bow tie as a token of his love.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
Yes. I mean, there are, we're not 13 anymore, but maybe no. I don't think I'd appreciate that anymore. I think the time I'd appreciate that's come and gone. I'm just much more cynical about that sort of thing now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was true love, me and Chico. No.
Well, it's probably. I mean, I hope it wasn't, because unless the end of this story is, and then we got
and now
married.
we're married, me and Chico forever. Yeah. In fact, I haven't really thought about Chico for a very long time, so it's odd that that's the first thing we've talked about. My weird, pubescent holiday romance with a waiter.
I think that's what the listeners are interested in.
Guys, I'm all class. I really am. Started early. Shame on me.
The Channel Islands, they're just a romantic place.
Yeah.
But Jersey more so than Guernsey. I'm worried that I'm going to alienate all my Guernsey listeners.
No, we've already agreed that the Jersey milk is the better milk, so it doesn't matter.
So
we'll probably start properly in a minute, won't we?
Liz Peters, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Stuart Moses.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I'm very glad that you're here. Which is the nursery. We're in the nursery to do the who, what, where. Some people believe that's important early on in the scene.
Whereas I would say the relationship's more important.
You're more of a TJ and Dave kind of perspective.
Well, I don't like to subscribe to any camp.
No.
Particularly, because I've learned improv from so many different sources, and I think every improviser just kind of picks what works for them, really.
Yes.
So, but I would be more of the TJ and Dave camp than the stage slapping dick joke camp. Although I've done both of those things, stage slapping and dick jokes. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I do tend to swear sometimes with excitement rather
right.
than aggression.
Well, that's better. Yeah, that would be weird if you started swearing at me in aggression. That would, be fine. Be weird. I was going to say something else, but it's completely forgotten. Yes. So
yes, we are the who, what, where. Sorry,
yes,
I
who, what,
interrupted
where, yes.
that.
No, it was good.
Going
It was
off
good.
topic.
No, it was good.
Yes, we're here in the nursery, London Bridge, and who? Stuart Moses and Liz Peters.
Yes, that's us.
What? Having both of us a cup of tea.
Hurrah!
Delicious.
Thank you very much for my tea.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. I think there's nothing more satisfying than a nice warm brew.
Yes, I'm in that camp.
Good.
I'm in that camp of the improv world. The tea-loving camp of that part of the world.
The tea-loving camp. England.
Yeah, well, yes. By which I mean England. I slightly worry that I'm going to make less sense than usual on this podcast, because I've just had the pleasure of attending your class for 3 hours, and you were teaching that class.
I was indeed.
So the ability to put a coherent sentence together, unlike that one, is to be greatly applauded.
So the outcome of that statement, Stuart, is that come to my classes and you won't be able to make any sense.
No, what I mean is that you'll be fully taught stuff, and you'll have such an intense experience, you'll have nothing left to offer the world afterwards. I think that's the same thing. It was a good class. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Basically, Stuart is now spent, and I did that.
I am a mere shadow of my former self. Yes, it was a fun class. It's always interesting word, because it's, I don't know how it's described, but it seems to be for beginners. It seems to be. Is it for beginners, or just do beginners come to it?
It's for everyone.
Yes.
It's a drop-in class, and it's open to everyone. They're often beginners there, and that's an interesting thing, because I think when you first start learning improv, the first time you get on the stage is absolutely terrifying. Well, not even the first time. The first year you stand up. And I still feel it in workshops, of that feeling of when I'm in a workshop as an attendee rather than as a teacher. I still feel that sort of like hot nervous kind of panic feeling of like, oh my God, I've got to get up and do my turn.
Yeah.
So I try to remember how strong that feeling is for people who have never done improv before. It's like, I'm about to stand up and make something up in front of all these people that I don't know. It's a very, very scary thing. So the class isn't for beginners per se. This is a Mayday's drop-in at the nursery Saturdays. But I try to be mindful of beginners who are there, because I think yeah, to get thrown straight into the lion's den is a frightening thing.
Yes.
And if I was running a beginner's course, I would take things in much easier stages of like, hey, you can't get this wrong, and you just have to listen to your partner and accept and build, and those real basic stuff that people who have been improvising for a while they know intrinsically, but it's trying to find that balance of people who've had experience and people who've had no experience, and allowing them to feel safe enough on stage that they can create, they can discover, rather than feeling paralysed. Yes. Which I think is a great fear response of like, I am the worst person, I cannot make sentences. So yeah, I try and make people feel comfortable and give them a good time, because if it's not fun, then what's the point?
Yeah,
because you're just making stuff up. If you're not enjoying it.
There's lots of other stuff you could do.
Yeah, go and play tennis.
You don't have to improvise.
No.
It's like, you know.
But it's frightening. It's really frightening. Like I said, I still get nervous getting up in a workshop situation when I'm a student, because you know, it's your one bit and you panic and you're like, oh God, I don't want to mess it up. And that all that fear and all that self-judgment is the stuff that's going to get in your way. Yeah. But it happens anyway, doesn't it? Yeah.
No, it's strange how your fear is the thing that sabotages you, and I can't form a sentence anymore.
It totally gets in the way. The fear gets in the way, because the fear blocks you from being able to communicate and just be there, because your whole body is getting all tense up, and it's you're under stress, so your brain doesn't operate very well under stress.
No,
it doesn't. It shuts down. And what you're wanting to do on stage is to be as open and receptive as you possibly can with whoever you're on stage with, and yeah, fear totally gets in the way. And so I try to help people to not feel fear, but fear is also useful.
Yes.
It gets you out of your comfort zone and moves you.
Yes. And if the person has made it into the class in the first place, that's a major hurdle in itself. Yeah. Because so many people may think, oh, I'd like to do that class, but then they don't, or they sign up for it and then they don't turn up, or whatever. Yeah. You know, so you get points for turning up, is what I'm saying here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Turning up and just getting up on the stage and then not just crying. I think you should have points for that. Yes. Yeah. I remember doing it. I was talking about going out of your comfort zone. I was trying new things, because I've been studying embodiment and how that is basically how you feel, how you move and stuff affects the way that you feel and think. And so I did a lot of training in that, and one of the parts of my training was to look at martial arts and things. So I had to go to martial arts classes, and I was so scared. Like, I was like, I'm going to walk into this totally brand new environment. And I went to an Aikido class, and I was like, I'm so used to walking into environments where you can't do anything wrong, yes, and all this kind of like, woo, improv, boom, boom, boom. And then suddenly I was walking into an Aikido class where there were rules and there was a master and everyone had their Aikido outfits, and you had to sort of kneel and be very quiet and mindful, and it was a totally different environment. And I was really scared going into that. You know, it's going out of your comfort zone and trying new things.
But they were welcoming. They didn't.
Well, we had fights, but then we were supposed to, so so it's fine.
It would have been really awkward. In fact, in some ways, that would have been more of an insult if you hadn't had fights.
Yes.
If they had declined to fight. So how did you fight them?
We did stuff with the staffs, so like big metal. They're not metal. That's dangerous. Wooden. I can't remember what they call them. They have an actual name. Bokkens, I believe they were. I'm not sure. Might be wrong.
Let's just commit to that.
We'll commit to Bokken. If you're a martial arts expert, I think it's Bokken.
Tweet at Improv London with any corrections, because as I said before, this podcast isn't about facts. It's about strongly stated opinions that
Bokkens.
sound like facts.
Aikido fight with Bokkens. And also unarmed, so hands and stuff. And what's fascinating about that, because Aikido is... the idea is that you use your opponent's strength against them. It's not, you don't attack. You use their strength to throw them down, basically, or to make your attack, I guess. Which is brilliant, because it kind of mirrors improv in the sense that you don't go in there and going, here's my thing, give you my thing. It's like, here, I receive what you're giving me, and I will use that.
Nice.
So it was really interesting. It's an entirely different environment. But a lot rooted in a very similar ethic of like, be here, be present. Have contact and connect with your partner, and use what they give you, rather than throwing whatever you want at them. It's a very similar kind of ethic, really.
Yes.
Martial arts and improv.
So I know you're a good improviser, but how are you at fighting?
Amazing.
Really cool. Fair enough. Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm talking like I've done loads of Aikido. I haven't done loads.
I like to think there's an Aikido podcast out there where they're mainly talking about improv, even though they've only done it a couple of times.
I've done a lot of stage combat, because I trained as an actor prior to studying improv. So I did learn armed and unarmed combat on stage fighting. Does
that not make it harder though to learn proper combat?
I guess probably, because you're faking it for so with stage combat you're never touching, and you're always you're like a hair pull, for example, you're actually pressing onto somebody's head rather than pulling their hair, and the victim, that's, I'm doing inverted commas with the word victim, is the one that has the intensity and drives it in stage combat. It's
like the strangling. When you're actually, if you're trying to strangle someone else, you're pulling away.
And they're pulling you on to their neck. Yeah, definitely. So there is that's the way you would learn a stage combat. But obviously, Aikido and all the other martial arts I'm an expert in.
Because I do want my listeners to the podcast to be able to do improv and also fight. I want an army of people that can fight. Only for good, not for evil, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
Use your powers for good.
I mean, I wasn't free-form fighting in this Aikido class.
I think you just like grabbing things off shelves,
God,
smashing them over the head with
No, it was choreographed. Choreographed moves. It was like, you'll do this and you'll block like that. And
in which case, the stage combat possibly was helpful. I don't know.
The most helpful thing
was your sheer raw latent aggression. With your killer instinct.
Yeah.
And the fact that you gave no quarter and no mercy.
Yes, and my sword-like fingers, which I lacerated my opponents with.
Wow. They really do Aikido differently in Brighton. Are you sure you weren't street fighting?
Actually, now you mention it, it wasn't in a dojo. We were just on the street corner of like where all the hen nights go. But it's fascinating how, because the more improv I do, I don't think you ever stop learning how to improvise. I think it's not like, I've been to Second City, nailed it. Like, it's not, it's a lifelong pursuit to keep on learning and keep on pulling from different things, different teachers, different sources. And I'm fascinated, the more I go into it, the more things like, for example, martial arts, they're coming from the same place. It's this place of being totally present being totally accepting of what is, and not trying to force anything, and just being there. I mean, there's so much of the stuff that I've studied has brought me to this same belief. It's just like, we're here, we have this moment, and we give and take within this moment. And if either one of us gives or takes too much, the moment is broken. And if we can I'm doing some hand gestures for the listener, which is supposed to be give and take.
Yes, that's that adequately represented give and take. Just have to trust me on this one. Are we bringing things into balance?
Bringing things into balance.
Is that what we're talking about? The give and take.
Yeah. So not.
But not balance that is static. It's like being on a seesaw. I'm doing more hand movements because I can't actually remember what a seesaw is. This is my seesaw hand movement.
It goes up and down depending on the weight of who's where and what you do. It's if you come into an improv scene and you're like a bull in a china shop and being like, I'm doing this is what's happening, it's going to fall apart. Likewise, if you come into an improv scene hoping someone else is going to give you all the answers and you stand there just going, what's this? What's that? Where am I? Then it's never going to get started, is it? So, give and take, yin and yang.
Yes.
Again, more bringing back to the old martial arts.
You can't tell that you live in Brighton, with your with your yin and your yang and your martial arts.
I'm not a martial arts expert. I just want to, before I get any bookings, it's like, we get Street Fighter Liz on board. Like,
come for the impro, stay for the street fighting. Cool. So you mentioned embodiment. What's embodiment? I've not heard of embodiment before.
Okay.
What kind of drew you to embodiment? Although it's got a good name and I can see why it'd be attractive.
Because you like bodies.
Yes.
Embodiment is basically is how you are in your body. I think nowadays we are so far removed from the animals that we naturally are. Because all we are is animals who have invented computers, basically. We're well-developed animals. And I think nowadays we get very hung up on thinking and our mental capacity, that we've almost detached our brain and body, and we think of them as two different things. So you are someone, well, I'll ask you, for example, like when I say your body, what comes to mind? What's the first thing that you think?
Arms, legs.
So a physical, biological stuff.
Yes.
So so there's different ways of looking at the body, like a piece of meat that I can train and make big and muscly.
Nature's way of keeping meat fresh.
Yeah, eat your own arm. Or we might think of it as a taxi for our brain. It just is what is the thing that allows us to take our wonderful, clever brains from here, there, and everywhere. And I think embodiment is just getting a bit more back in touch with the body and noticing how it is and the responses that it's giving us, because we are still animals and we still have responses in the way that we move. Like we talked earlier about the fear thing, about that sort of like constriction and tension, and when you're frightened, your whole body tenses up, and it tells you that you are under stress. Your brain actually responds to that and then goes, oh, my body is tensing up and freezing, and therefore I must be under stress. Your body's actually giving you the information. Your brain is translating it.
Ah, right.
So we all have different ways of habits of how we are. I'm quite sort of like fast and bang, bang, dynamic and stuff. Other people might be a little bit more floaty in their movement, a little bit slower. And that actually affects the way that you think and the way that you feel and the way that you respond to things.
Wow.
So I would say I'm quite a fiery person, and that's not just because my brain is fiery. That's because my body is constantly charged with energy. So I charge around fast and I bang things down, and I'm quick and I'm slammy, and that actually makes me talk that way. It's not that it makes me respond that way because my body is doing those things rather than because I have mentally chosen to do that.
Right.
So if you change the way you move, so if you become a little bit more looser or freer, for example, with your movements, then you become a little bit more looser or freer with your mind. There's a lot of lovely research on the internet and in the world. There's a really interesting thing about embodiment. There's a TED talk by Amy Cuddy, which is worth listening to.
Cool. Check out the link in the show notes.
She talks about power posing.
Power posing. Wow.
So this.
Liz is now demonstrating a power pose.
Power pose is open and wide and dominant.
Yes.
And it's that. So that's that victory. That position of victory is arms out and like chest forward and like I'm doing it right now. Can you feel it in my voice?
Yes.
I'm like dominant. My arms are open. I feel like a winner.
Yeah.
And if you watch people winning a race, for example, the winning position is arms open, chest out, winner, results.
Yes. And
people who are blind, who have never seen that's the position of victory, will naturally do that in their position when they want to be dominant. Or you see it in nature as well. You see animals doing it, chimps and stuff. That how they dominate. They make themselves big. They make themselves wide. It makes them dominant, and it makes you feel pumped. It makes your adrenaline go up and whatnot. Whereas the flip side of that, if you make yourself small and you close yourself off, so you're I'm now crossing my arms in front of my chest. I'm now crossing my legs, closing myself down. Makes me feel less dominant. Makes me feel more submissive to you in this room now, because I've changed my body to be a submissive position. It's also changing my voice, changing the way that I am feeling and how well I can make a sentence. And so this power posing basically is you can control your state, you can control how you feel. They did this experiment in Harvard where they got people to do power posing, so that's like dominant, chest out stuff, for 2 minutes before going into some interview, and they got a different bunch of people to do the more closed, little positions, and then the experiment was to see how they would be received by the people not knowing what they had been doing before, and it just came out tops that the people who'd done power posing were just generally better at delivering stuff, being strong, being powerful. So it's proven stuff, but it's hard for people to buy into because people get shy about their bodies. People get I think some people are afraid to admit that your body can be that powerful, that it triggers you rather than you trigger it.
Yes.
And once you realise that it is triggering you and your responses, then you have agency over yourself and the way that you feel much more, because I can choose now to I'm noticing my position. My legs are wide open. Excuse me. But once you know that, that's just one element of it. There's sort of power posing and submissive positioning. There's many other different rhythms and states and things that you can explore. But once you start to become aware of what your body's actually doing, you start to really notice how that is driving your behaviour, and how your behaviour is not actually driven by cognitive thought at all.
Yes.
It's driven by what you're doing. And once you know that, you then have the agency to make different choices about how you want to feel by choosing to stand, move, walk, sit a different way.
Yes.
And I do a bit of power posing before I go on stage. Or before I go somewhere scary as well. It's like, okay, right, I've got to pump up for this. It works, yeah. And so, and you can do other, and there's other parts to it. I mean, there's a lot of self-awareness, and it takes a while to sort of click in and really notice what you're doing, because most of the time you don't know what you're doing physically. You just this is the body I lumber around with all the time. And once you start paying a lot of attention to it, you're like, oh, I do that, and that's why I'm always angry, or I do that, and that's why that person always walks all over me, because I actually allow them to, because of the way that I am around them. So I think it's a fascinating field of study, and it's kind of ancient, but also quite new, because people are just sort of getting their heads out of their computers and realising that we've alienated ourselves from our human instincts, and so much that actually if you get back in touch with them, we probably won't be as miserable, because our bodies are telling us so much stuff, and we have got to the point where we are ignoring it, and we're just going, I'll just check my iTunes. Check my iTunes.
There might be another U2 album that's downloading without my knowledge. Oh.
Better check my iTunes.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Twitter,
so, yeah.
That sort of thing.
So my brain is the only important thing. It's not at all. Your brain and body are integrated, and they are heavily reliant on each other. And your body is making decisions based on what your body is telling you. So, for example, there's not that many feelings that a human being is capable of having. We talked a bit about fear. So the fear thing for me is like a kind of hot sensation, like butterflies in the stomach, maybe increased heart rate, tingly neck, hot face, that kind of thing. That's my fear. That is also what the feelings I have when I'm excited.
Yes. So
your body is making these things. Your brain is interpreting them.
Right, yes.
So, depending on the environment that it thinks that you should be feeling. So, you have a lot of... You have a minimal amount of responses that your body can do, and how you categorise them is your call, basically. Yes. Fear and excitement physiologically are the same.
And that's why, and this was some advice Steve Rowe gave me, and everyone in the class, it wasn't. Anyway, but, it's like, if it's easier to translate that fear into excitement, whereas if someone says, calm down, actually that's quite hard to do, because we're going almost like two directions at once. But if we're just moving from fear to excitement, we're on the same sort of level. Yeah.
And then that's going back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, that it's acceptance. I can't sit here and go, Stuart, stop feeling these things you're feeling. I can see.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
You can't sit there and go, okay, I feel scared, therefore, I'll just turn that off. You can't really do that. You can reframe it and go, okay, I accept that I have my butterflies and my heat and all this sort of thing, and I can choose to reframe it as excitement. I can't just turn you on and off like a tap. But there are other things that you can do. I mean, there's certainly there's centering techniques and things that are very, very valuable, which is a huge amount of self-awareness of. Well, it's hard to explain because people can't really see what I'm doing, but a lot of our stress and anxiety is kind of caused by a gripping or a tightness in what would be a sort of centre line of the body. So from between your eyebrows, mouth, throat, chest, stomach, and etc. And learning a few techniques to just let that tightness and tension release. You can feel so much calmer in situations where you might be properly freaking out on the inside. It's actually, I can be aware of it, and I can have a bit of agency over that. So that's really useful. Yeah, I was trying to use my centering techniques yesterday because I went to Go Ape,
Oh, right.
Yeah,
How
which
was
is
that?
it was great. Was it? Yeah, it was.
Should we explain what Go Ape is
Go
for
Ape.
people that haven't
Yeah.
gone ape, as it were?
God, it's basically treetops. So you go, you harness yourself up, and you do various obstacles high up in treetops. And I remembered as I climbed the first tree, I am actually really scared of heights. So I was like, oh my God, my whole body was like, you shouldn't be here, Liz. And I was just rigid, like really frightened. So I was using some of my centering techniques. I mean, like, you know, I know that I'm mostly safe because I'm wearing a harness. So I just need to take a little bit more agency over the situation here. I still really was scared. But I did it all, and I like the zip wires. They're fun. It's just when you're walking on like little bits of metal, like 30 feet in the air, it's like, oh God.
Yes, you're stepping out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and doing it very high up in the air, which is brave.
It is brave. It is brave. And yeah, but fun. Like I found it was funny actually. Like I find myself under stress. Like in that kind of environment, up in the trees, I really find it helpful to sing to myself.
Oh right, yeah.
And so a lot of the times, like I'd be like walking across this tightrope and being like on like shaking a little bit and being like, it's just a lady on a wire in the trees. I'm just a lady, and it helped me get through. Genuinely helped me like get through. I was like, okay, just singing a song. And I'm sure like there was like some kids behind me who were like fearless and just like they must have been like, that woman is nuts, like clinging to like the bark of tree and singing. But whatever gets you through, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still here.
Yes, well done. So yes, let's talk about music. Let's talk about music and comedy and...
Sure.
You do that.
I do also do musical comedy.
That's clever. How do you do that?
I play the piano. That's how I make the music. I've always really, really loved making up silly songs. I do it around the house. I just really enjoy it. One of my favourite films of all time is Cannibal the Musical.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I've not seen it, no.
Oh my God, it's by the guys that did South Park.
Right, yes.
And it is absolutely fantastic film. It's really old and it's set in the gold rush and it's, you know, South Park humour. It's very, very good.
Right.
And I highly recommend it. And I watched Cannibal the Musical and I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to make up stupid songs. They have songs like, the sky is blue and all the leaves are green. My heart's as full as a baked potato. Like, stupid. Anyway, yeah, stick that. I think more people need to know about Cannibal the Musical.
Yes, well, put that in the show notes.
It's
Yes.
ace. But I digress, because what was talking about? Yeah. So I've always enjoyed making up silly songs, and I started doing musical comedy at stand-up nights, probably about what year are we in?
2016.
I think I did it, I think I started doing it in about 2012, 2013 or something. Going to stand-up nights, playing songs on my piano, very silly songs, often involving death or sex or cheese or something.
Right, the three biggies.
The big ones.
Yes.
Big ones. And then I did...
What's your favourite type of cheese?
Oh, do you know what? I had a lot of cheese yesterday in a French place, and it wasn't my favourite kind. There's a lot of bad cheese out there. I don't like the mouldy cheese.
You don't like the mouldy cheese?
I don't like it when it's too strong. I love a baked camembert though. That's nice.
Yeah.
I like cheese when it's when you can dip in it. I love a fondue.
A fondue, yeah.
I love a fondue.
Yeah, fair enough. There's something magical about when you melt the cheese and then. I once got cheese blindness. You got cheese blindness? I'm convinced it was cheese blindness. I've been over-cheesed in the past, but I've never had cheese blindness. I'm a mere acolyte at your cheese gluttony.
It was in France, and I was on a...
good place.
Of course.
If you're going to get cheese blind anywhere...
Do it in France.
Yeah, do it in France.
And of all the nights, it was ridiculous, really. I was on a skiing trip with a bunch of people, and we went and had fondue in a restaurant at the top of a mountain. And yeah, admittedly, we had some wine as well, but I'm pretty sure it was cheese blindness. And at the end of the night, we were tobogganing down, so we got given lamps for our heads, and then we had to toboggan back down the mountain after this restaurant, and my vision was just like, whoa, of all the times to get this cheese, not wine blindness, definitely cheese blindness, tobogganing down in this forest back home. Nobody died.
Well, that's good.
Thank goodness. Nobody died. We all got home safe.
Hooray! Because that would have been really... The podcast would have taken a turn if we got... And then John sadly went off a cliff and
we never saw him again.
Never saw him again.
It's a shame, he was a great guy.
Yeah, well...
Really great guy, but...
Too much fondue.
Too much fondue.
So kids, if you're listening out there, don't have a fondue and then toboggan down.
Yeah,
I mean, Liz was lucky, but don't follow her example in that particular aspect.
By the skin of my teeth, I made it to the bottom of that mountain. By the skin of my teeth.
So you were doing...
so I was doing stand-up.
Yes.
So...
Is it harder or easier to do stand-up nights if you're doing a song?
Harder.
Yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I have now... So that's when I started out, I was doing stand-up nights. And I've now kind of stopped doing them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I find them really stressful.
Yes.
And I don't think that people really welcome a musical comedian that much. Some people love it, but some people are like straight away they see a piano and they're like, I'm going to hate this.
Oh, really?
And then a woman walks on, I'm going to hate her because she's female, and it's a whole different thing. But no, so I did it for quite a while. I was doing stand-up nights. I found it quite stressful on two levels, I think. One is that you get your sort of 5-10 minutes or whatever, and it's like, okay, be funny. It's quite there's a sort of a slight aggression of like, we've paid our money for the funny. You better be funny. And I would internalise that a little bit, and it would make me a bit stressed out.
Yes.
And also doing things on my own. There's the collaboration of being in an improv show.
Yes.
That is wonderful. It's like, we'll create this thing, we don't know what it's going to be yet, but I trust you, and I think you're amazing, so we'll build this thing. It's a very different feeling than I wrote this song in my bedroom, and now I'm going to show it to people.
Yes. It seemed funny then. Who knows if it's funny now?
Well, hopefully they were funny. I did do a solo hour show in 2014, and I got nominated an award for that. So that's nice.
So you must have been funny.
Yeah.
Well
so
done.
it must have been funny enough.
That's all we ask.
Yeah, it's funny enough. Which was great. I really enjoyed doing that. But I think for me, I'm way more comfortable in an improv night than in a stand-up night.
Yes.
Maybe that's just me. I don't think either is a greater or lesser art form at all. I think they're both very different.
Yes.
But yeah, musical comedy isn't always well received in a stand-up night.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not stand-up.
Yes.
Because it's different.
I suppose there is that.
Art form.
Yeah, I suppose there is that aspect of it, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. But I had some really, really fun gigs. But it doesn't light my fire the way that doing a good improv show does.
Yes.
Because you're on your own as well. It's like, who do you share that joy with?
Yeah.
Just sit and pat yourself on the back and
yes.
go away.
That's in the best case scenario.
Yeah.
You mentioned improv, and you remember the May Days.
I am indeed.
So, a good improv team, I would suggest, is made up of mixed people, and everyone brings something different to the table. What does Liz Peters bring to the May Days?
Big jokes!
Because no one else is any good at those.
No. I'm the only one that's seen one in real life. It was Chico from Girls. I never saw that. I was underage. I didn't see that. We just kissed.
Yeah, that went dark.
Sorry, that was great. That was gross. That, honestly, genuinely, I didn't do that. Sorry. When were you talking? Yeah. I probably do bring the rude, I think.
You bring the rude?
I do bring the rude. I like to think there's more to me than that. But yeah, famously, like, one of my go-tos under stress, as we talk about stress quite a lot today. I think people go to their go-tos, and a lot of the time, like, I will have a bit of a dirty mind, so I'll be able to come up with quite a dirty bit without too much trouble. So I guess I bring that. I would say big characters, a lot of energy. I'm very energised, as you might have noticed. I'm quite physical as well, I think. I find, those kind of like gut stuff.
Yeah.
Like playing from the heart, from the guts, being all like, rah, more visceral.
Yeah.
I'd say that's where I fit best. When we get into anything that's kind of word games and puns and stuff, I'm doing my best, but I can, there's people who are quicker at that than me.
Yes.
So I'm the blood, guts and sperm. Oh God, I don't want to be that. But as we've discussed, acceptance is very important.
Yes, it's all about the fluids. With puns, it's like, yes, I would like. No, you see what I would like? I'd like to be able to do the puns, but then I wouldn't do them. I just, in my head, I'd know. Yeah, I got puns.
Yeah,
I'm not doing them. I've got them here. I'm not using them, though. I'm better
puns
than
in
that.
back pocket.
Yeah, it's like,
But
I think, is it possible? Okay, so I'm not good at the thinky head pun stuff. Is it possible to get better at that, or should you stick with what you naturally do?
I think it's definitely possible to get better at that. I think if you if you only ever play what you naturally play, how are you ever going to improve? Really. So I do push myself to try and to try and improvise differently, because I want to be the best improviser I can be, and I have it's super easy for me to have visceral, emotional responses. Like, that's as easy to me as scratching my head, And some people really, really find that difficult. So if I just did that all the time, that would be a very, very small pocket of ability. And I want to be the best I can be. So I think you can definitely get better at this kind of thing.
Yes.
It's like rhyming, like some people are like, I can't rhyme. It's like, you can, you just haven't worked that muscle enough.
Yes. So it's a learnable skill.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, I can see that with rhyming more than puns. But then I suppose I've spent more time trying to learn to rhyme than I have to pun.
Yeah.
Yes.
But puns are a workable muscle as well. Like, it's just that if you haven't thought about things that way, if you start thinking about things that way, trying to punify, then you can...
I mean, puns aren't all universally rewarded in everyday life. That's the whole thing. I'm not sure.
They get a few groans, don't they?
Yeah.
Pun.
I don't know.
You practice in your own time.
Yeah, obviously.
In the kitchen.
I don't know. Is a groan... As long as you're not only getting groans.
Well, yeah. If you're just an improviser that just puns their way through everything, then you'll probably get a bit. People get a bit bored of you pretty quickly. But
as indeed they would if you punned your way through real life.
Yes.
I think people would get really bored of you really quickly. First couple would probably be all right, but after that, it's like no, please, no more puns.
But yeah, all of it. I mean, every aspect of it. We can improve. We can improve our abilities in all areas. A thing that took me a few years to even understand what it meant, let alone get any kind of handle on it, was game over the scene.
Right.
I'd be like, I would watch people doing scenes, and then I'd be like, oh God, like they totally get it, and I can't seem to find this mystical game of the scene. Where's the game of the scene book? I don't know what the game of the scene. And I would get myself tied up in knots about it, and then I did heaps of workshops with different people, and slowly built that muscle. And it's not my strength. I wouldn't say that I was a gamey improviser, but I saw that was something that needed nurturing. So you nurture it, and you, like anything, that becomes then a practice that you're like, oh cool, I'm getting a little bit better at it.
So what is the game of the scene for you? How would you describe that?
Game of the scene is what is the funny, basically.
Right.
What is the funny? Is there a thing here that is funny? And if there is, we keep going with that, and then we take that to some kind of conclusion.
Yes.
Which is one way of playing, and it's quite a heady way of playing, which is why I find it very difficult, because as discussed, I am all blood and heart.
Yes.
So for some people, it's really easy to think sort of strategically around a scene. For me, less easy, but still occasionally happens.
Yes. Well, I find Game of the Scene a difficult way to think about things. Because, right, if you do something once and it's funny, and then you do it again and then it's not funny the second time, it's like, well, it was funny the first time, but I've just done it again. Why isn't it funny the second time?
Are you committing to it as much the second time, or are you kind of hamming it a little bit?
Maybe
Who
that's
knows?
it. Maybe, yeah, it could be. Maybe I'm just...
And also, it needs to escalate a little.
Maybe I'm not escalating enough. Or maybe I don't know, maybe it's because it's that head part of me that's thinking, oh, I did that thing. That got a laugh. Right, I'm going to do that thing again. And maybe, I don't know, when I did it the first time, it was more spontaneous. Maybe I haven't escalated, I don't know.
Who knows? You're not talking to the expert on game, I'll be honest with you. But I think that what you've hit on there is something really that I really subscribe to. It's like, is that judgment... What I struggle with game and strategic play is because you are thinking, and I don't feel like I do my best work when I'm thinking.
No.
Because I'm analysing and judging and doing all these kind of things at the same time as trying to improvise.
Yes.
It's very schizophrenic.
Yes.
And
I don't have that much brain power to be doing thinking as well as listening to the other person and trying to be in the moment.
Yeah.
I just,
you can't fully engage in the scene if you're judging it and thinking about it at the time, which is why all of this kind of game playing and being like, oh, I think I've spotted the game. Therefore, I do that. I find very difficult, because it's like, well, now I'm up in my head and I'm not really responding. And I think gamey scenes are great. I respect them. I love them. I struggle with them.
Yes.
Because it goes against my vibe, but I still give them a bloody good go.
No. And I think it's very encouraging to think about these things and to think, these are learnable skills, and the more you do this, the better you will get at it. And I think that's sometimes when you learn things that are sometimes things are only obvious once you've had them pointed out to you. So the obvious thing that I had to have pointed out to me is, you're watching these people improvising. Yes, they're amazing, and they were probably amazing when they started, but they've also got 10 years experience on you, or 20 years experience on you. And that's why they're so good, is they've been doing it for so long, and they've got so much practice, and they've just worked on these things.
Yeah.
So it's not just they came out of the box and they were 20 years good, it's just, they've got 20 years experience on you. So
definitely.
I find that a really encouraging way of thinking about things.
Yeah. There's no substitute for the experience and actually stage time and actually just doing it.
Yes.
And being in a million scenes and then going, oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think the best way to learn how to be on stage is by being on stage, because I love a workshop, I love a drop-in, and they're amazing. But it's actually when you've got the audience in front of you, that's when the circuit is kind of connected. You connect to circuit?
Yes, you do. It's a circuit is connected.
Brilliant.
In all ways, yes.
It's like I know about science or something
Yay,
like that.
science!
Yay, science!
Yay, because we were talking about connections. That's what the session we just did was, in fact.
Yes. Can you explain your connection theory? Because I had not heard that before, and I liked it very much.
Ah, okay. Well, basically, everything is in a circuit. So if you're improvising with somebody else, which probably you are, that circuit is going through both of you, through both of your bodies, and then creating a unique circuit that can only happen with the two of you connected together. There's a lot of hand movement happening here.
Yes,
so
some very good hand movement that you're missing out on. But
and so the circuit that you and I would create right now would manifest in an entirely different scene than if me and somebody different was here. And that's that's that. But if I break away from this connection I'm having with you, and I go into my own head and start trying to create something in my own head, I'm creating a circuit in my own head, rattling around in my own brain, and not then connected to you. It's very difficult for us to have a good scene, because I'm then working on my own circuit. I explained it way better in class. I've talked for about 4 hours.
Yes, no, I think you're doing very well. I'm just going to adopt a power pose. Power pose. Because yes, and it's interesting. No, you're all right. It's interesting because you do this and you feel like much more powerful. When I do my introduction to this podcast, I'm going to strike this pose.
Yeah.
Yes. So the idea of the circuit. Going from one person to the other and it going in a loop. Now I'm doing hand motions which do not work in an audio format. It's interesting because it sort of connects to deepening a scene rather than widening a scene. So if you've got this circuit going between the two of you, you're concentrating on that rather than thinking about something that's somewhere else and trying to bring that in, I think.
Yeah, I think that there's a definite tendency in particularly very, very new improvisers, and all, at all levels. I don't think these things go away, but particularly with new improvisers, to try and reach for something to almost negate what's actually there in front of you, the person that you're improvising with. The only thing you need is the person that you're improvising with. Everything else is something that you're creating from somewhere else. What is interesting is what is the dynamic between you and me today, right now? How do we play with that rather than reaching out for some story about some adventure we went on and we rode camels or whatever? The camels aren't interesting.
Yes.
It's me and you that's interesting.
Yes.
And I'm doing a circle with my hand.
There's a good circle hand action. Yes.
So, how do we feel about each other? How do we respond to each other? That's the meat. That's the juice.
Yes.
Everything else is trying to escape from being totally present in that circuit.
Yes, because you think, hey, that adventure with the camels thing, that's exciting. And then we saw the pyramids and that's like, but no, we don't really care.
No one cares.
No one cares. What is it? No one cares if the bike got fixed. There was something about, no one thinks about that scene of, I'm really glad the bicycle pump,
I think I know what you mean. I think there's an analogy.
Should we just keep going? And I'll get to it. Nobody cares about the scene. Nobody cares about the improv scene. And they're really glad that the bicycle puncher got fixed. They care about the relationship between
definitely.
Or whatever.
Yeah. And we're all, people reaching for other stuff and inventing other stuff is a defence mechanism. Look, you've broken yourself. You've broken yourself trying to do it.
It happens at least once per podcast.
We often reaching out like, this isn't good enough. This is good enough.
Yes.
You and me communicating and actually genuinely responding is good enough. Is enough. We don't care to see. We don't care about a scene that we never saw or a future that we'll never go to. We're here watching this scene, so we want to see this scene, basically. For the record, Stuart is broken.
Well, yes. No, I do find that when when I do a class like I did today. I'm no good afterwards. I find it very hard to carry on with anything really, and it's like quite often there's going to the pub and it's like I'd like to do that in theory because these are all lovely people and I'd like to talk to them, but I'm just broken. Don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to have energy after doing an improv class.
You gave it all you had,
I gave it all I had,
I can't expect anything more from you.
I can't hold things back. I just need to, I don't know. Maybe it's more bananas or energy drinks or, I don't know.
It's power posing, mate.
It's
power posing.
I think, you can look a little bit awkward doing this in the pub, but, I don't know.
Power posing way through life, you'll be all right.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I need to do. Cool. Right. Big final question.
Okay. Are we getting married?
My
God, how exciting.
I thought the podcast would be the way to ask.
This is so romantic.
It's just, all this improv is just You've got to admit that I put a lot of effort
You have.
into. It's not just like.
You've done podcast after podcast
Yeah.
to make me believe that
Yeah.
you really wanted it.
I mean, this isn't like the first couple of podcasts. I've recorded many, many hours. And also done many classes beforehand.
I appreciate the work you've put in.
Well, that's all right.
Um,
Do you have to yes and me in the nursery? Is that because this would be the time to ask, wouldn't it?
it would be the time, but as I've used my analogy, which for any beginner's improv, yes and does not mean you have to say yes to the question. You just have to say yes to the reality. So I accept that you're proposing, but I refuse your proposal.
Well, that's. I mean, that's to be fair, it's the most sensible opinion. And what happens in the nursery stays in the nursery.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I yabbered over your big final question. You did it with such drama.
I've got another. Okay, so that was the big final question, but I've got another one in reserve, as that one has been, as I've been crushed by that. So it's fine. So improv, we love improv. That's,
Correct.
That's not the question.
No,
But
no question.
It was the correct answer. So, what would you like to see more of in improv in London, Brighton, England, the world?
That's a very interesting question. What would I like to see more of? I'd like to see. I'd like there to be a bit more money in it. Yeah, a little bit more money. I'd like to. I'd love it to get a bit more respect as an art form.
Mm-hmm.
I think people. I think a lot of people still view it as some kind of studenty, like, oh, this will probably be rubbish. Like, oh, just making it up and looping around.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
They might be making up and there'll be no leaping around, It's just...
If I'm in it, they'll probably be looping around.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit more respect.
How do we get more respect?
By doing good work, by doing good shows. I mean, there is a lot of good improvisers around, and there's a lot of good shows. There is, I'll be honest, there's still some shows that I go to that are a bit cringy, and I do think, oh gosh, this is a bit awkward watching this.
Without identifying, when you say it's a bit cringy, what kind of things are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of things where people are not playing it truthfully, not being honest on stage, and they're trying to be gaggy and it feels really forced. Really beautiful improv is really connected and can be funny and can be really, really moving. But when you see people who are just leaping around and they're not connecting to each other,
right? Yes.
Then I can find that can be quite uncomfortable to watch because it's like So, but there's loads of really, really good stuff, and I think I like to see a bit more love thrown at that, so that we can. I mean, the improv community in the time I've been involved in it has changed dramatically. There wasn't hardly anything around, and now it's like improv here, improv there, improv everywhere. I want to see good.
You want to see good.
I want to see good improv. Honestly.
Yes. I mean, that's the nature of the art form, though.
Is the risk?
Yes.
The risk factor, yeah. Definitely.
So the risk factor makes it more exciting because when you do fly, the fact that you could crash makes it more exciting. But inevitably, there are going to be times when you're going to crash.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Of course. I'm not saying I want everyone to be like incredible and stuff. Just listening to each other, which is one of the things that I find one of the worst. What makes a bad show? We're talking about a bad show is when the people aren't listening to each other, and they're like, "Oh, I've got a funny idea. I'll just trample over yours with my hilarious idea."
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, actually, let's co-create this.
If you want to do that, be a stand-up.
Yes, yes, do that because there is a place for that, and it's not improv, and that's what. And I think there are shows where you see that happen, and it is a bit like, oh god, but listening to each other, accepting each other, acceptance, there it is again.
Yeah, it's all right for your son.
and committing to that, committing to being there together and doing it, creating it. You know, yeah, of course, there's going to be some times where it crashes and burns, but you know, if you're doing all those things, there should be enough juice there.
Yeah, and if you're watching a group that has that kind of connection, then even if it goes wrong, it doesn't really go wrong because you're still watching people who enjoy being with each other and I don't know.
You're watching people play.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the fun of watching a show is you're watching people on the edge of their flying by the seat of their pants, aren't you?
Yes,
it's like,
yes,
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do the thing. And as long as the players are in agreement that they're all respecting each other and they're not trying to steamroller each other, they're respecting each other, they're building each other's things, and they're all flying on the same magic carpet, then that's great. You know, that's brilliant. It's when people are self-serving.
Yes.
That I think it falls apart.
Yes.
And it's a collaborative piece.
It is. So we should all try and fly on the same magic carpet.
Yeah, we should.
It'd be a beautiful thing.
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Oh no! Look, he's just spilt something. I think
that's how much I was enjoying your song.
Yay! It's all wet. Stuart loved it. Oh, shaming myself again.
Brilliant. Liz Peters, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Stuart Moses.
I made this.
That's improv!